excited for everybody that's on this call. Really excited to be a part of this, Daryl. I really appreciate it. I know we're at the tail end of a very long day, so I know some of y'all probably tired. Y'all had your lunch. Y'all probably got the itis. But I'm gonna need y'all to turn up for this session. It is the last session of the day. We are about to have a dynamic conversation. So I would love a little bit of your participation in this, right? So when I do talk to the panel,
come closer.
You hear me?
You look like we can't.
Can y'all hear me? Y'all can hear me?
You look like you was in witness protection for a second, brother.
I
want to see you, baby. Let's go.
I'm back. Yeah, so I would love a little bit of participation on this panel. So if you hear anything from the panelists that sort of like resonates with you, lights a fire up on you, I would love for you to use the reaction buttons in the bottom, throw up a heart, throw up a thumbs up to any of the panelists to affirm them. Okay. And also bring your conversations into the chat, right? Because what you're thinking, somebody else is probably thinking also, right? And you can connect with them and get that work off the ground. So earlier today, I remember Aisha vehemently talking about her number and how she doesn't want that number anymore. And for anybody that's on this call, y'all know what that number is. That's that inmate number, right? 334-685. I got mine when I was 21 years old. That's when I met Mr. Daryl. I came home from prison at 31 and we're here. We're still doing it, right? So with that said, my name is Yancy Singleton. I am the recruitment director for Public Allies and also the program manager for Bridgeport and Fairfield County. But I think most importantly, I'm a narrative disruptor. I'm going to stop. I'm going to say that again. I am a narrative disruptor. Just like so many of my brothers and sisters on this call, right? Every single day we wake up and our goal is to change the paradigm of what a leader could and should look like, to change the paradigm of what type of background a leader could and should have. So with that said, I'm going to dial it back down because I could talk about myself all day. And I would love to give my panelists, Mr. Scott, I see Angel, I see Ms. Alamo, and hopefully Ms. Porter gets on the call in a second. Give them 2 or 3 minutes to introduce themselves and we'll jump into this conversation.
Hey, yeah, Tiheba was coming back on that panel too. So we want to bring Tiheba
jump in.
All right, cool.
Awesome. Yeah, so panelists, take it away. I would love for you 2-3 minutes to introduce yourselves and then we'll jump into this conversation.
I'll jump up. Yancy, hey, first off, thanks for having us. This is awesome. I love the enthusiasm here this afternoon. This is absolutely terrific. And Daryl, it's good to see everybody. See Fred and Michael Askew out there too, and awesome. So again, thank you for allowing us to be here today. At some point, I'd love to talk, and I mentioned to Rob, I'd like to give some kind of, if I could, a historical perspective on kind of where we came from and kind of where we're heading off.
Absolutely.
You let me know when you want me to do that. I can do that now or I can do it later.
As soon as we introduce our panelists, you can jump right into it.
All right, you got it. So I'm Scott Wildeman. I'm the CEO of Career Resources, and I'm blessed to be here with you today. So thank you.
Awesome. Come on.
Hi, I'm Inez Richards, and I'm the Operations Manager for Recovery 12 Solution in the New London area. I am the house manager at one house, and I am the operations manager for 5 other women sober houses.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. I'm not too tech savvy, I'm Angel. I work for Career Resources at one of their halfway houses, Isaiah House 1, and I'm formerly incarcerated individual.
We have 2 more.
Yes. All right, great. Hi, is it my turn?
Yes, it is, Tiheba.
Okay, I do apologize. Hello, my name is Tiheba Bane. I'm Executive Director of Women Against Mass Incarceration. I am also one of the Great 8 for the Connecticut Hall of Change, and I reside in Bridgeport, Connecticut. I'm happy to be here. Thank you. And I too am a narrative disruptor.
Yes, let's go. We in the building. Ms. Alamo.
Hello, my name's Cenesia Alamo, and I am from Hartford. I'm a community health worker. I work for Family Life Education. I manage my team. We are COVID educators. I also work with, I'm also into transition. I work with the individuals inside to help them transition back into the community.
Awesome. So this is great. Scott, I definitely want to give you time to shine, but really, really quick, I just want to mention that if everyone doesn't know, Scott started the first reentry program roundtable here in Bridgeport, which led to the formation of the other 9 councils, which now make up our Connecticut Reentry Collaborative. With that, Scott, you can jump into some history.
Yes, before I go, Scott, before you go, Trish is right there. She was there. She's been here. Supposed to be on this panel. She walked out. They got pushed out, but she's back. She's in the building. She's smiling. Her story is true too. So let's Trish, then Scott, and then I'm gonna sit back, man. I'm ready, man. Let's get it.
Listen, this is my 3rd Zoom meeting in a row. I have 1 more and a half hour, okay?
And listen, my dog is sick. My fish is floating. I know all about it. You in here. Let's go.
Inez, I see you. Hi, everybody. I'm Trish. And Inez, I love you.
Love you too.
Daryl asked me last night to speak about something that I know that I don't have to think about. I don't got to write no notes. I don't have to prepare nothing. Like last night I was at a forum, community forum, and like the whole time I was just thinking about how far I've come. And I remember not only am I a product of York, right? And I started going to York in '94. I just turned 18. Prior to that, I was already a part of the state of Connecticut. So I grew up in group homes, I'm from Wildeman, but I grew up in group homes in Hartford. So I was already told back then I wasn't going to be anything. And then by the time I'm 15, I'm hooked on heroin, married into the gang life, just a horrible life, go to prison, and I'm still told I'm never going to be shit. Sorry, be anything. And
Trish, we love you. We just wanted the intro, and we will get into.
Okay.
We will get into all of that.
You can shut me down whenever.
Thank you so much. You're the best. You're the best. Thank you so much. So Scott, kick it off with a little bit of history, and then we'll.
Yeah, I did, and I think what Trish was saying. I really want to talk about kind of where we came from. Because you got to kind of celebrate the past, and so where we're actually heading out to. So, so kind of jump right in. I want you to know the world, as you know, it was a different place 13 years ago. The prison population today is about half of what it was in 2007 when we first started the Bridgeport Reentry Roundtable. And I got to tell you, the atmosphere for reentry was also not tolerant or even supportive of second chances almost 13 years ago. In fact, the word second chance wasn't even in our vocabulary. We called clients back then ex-offenders or non-violent offenders. That's what it was. In either case, an offender was still prominently in their name. Also, I got to tell you what's happened, and a very tragic event occurred around this time. Some of you may recall, it was called the Cheshire Home Invasion. Now, what happened, man, this horrific crime prompted the state to kind of go back and look at its entire criminal justice system. I remember talking to a young man at the time who was just released, and he learned about those criminals that participated in that heinous crime. And he said to me, what's going to happen? They're going to take it out on all of us now. Nobody's ever going to get out. And, to be honest with you, I was afraid of that. I thought he might have been correct. And let's go look fast forward at the same time, New Haven. What's happening in New Haven? Mayor Stefano was complaining publicly, that inmates were being dropped off in prison with $50 in their pocket on the town green and nowhere to go. The New Haven community was in uproar over this, and major cities also shared his concerns. So add this up with hiring. No one wanted to hire an ex-offender. No one wanted to talk to you. The majority of employers I spoke to didn't want to have anyone to do with it because they were afraid of what happened with Cheshire might happen with them. It was always in their minds. They were afraid of their employees. They didn't want to put them at risk. All this was going on. Even, I got to be honest with you, even HR people on my board were asking the question whether or not we should be serving this population. And even some of my own staff questioned about helping them out. I had a conversation, some of you may recall her, God bless her soul, with Stephanie Erdang, a former job developer. We put out that Erdang Torres Award every year. But she remarked to me at the time when I first hired her that she wasn't sure she could do it. But I wanted to fast forward, when she passed away in 2012, this woman was a private lady. She had 6 pallbearers. All of them were returning citizens. all returning citizens, brought her to the grave.
Mm.
As a community, this was the backdrop. This is what we were facing. It was a fractured, it was a siloed system of services. We had no strategic statewide reentry plan at all, and an unparalleled public image problem for reentry. This is where the Bridgeport Reentry Roundtable came in. You know, it's a small group of nonprofits that touch the lives of returning citizens. We didn't know each other, nor we even worked with each other. The initial meeting, I got to tell you, was small. You know, you talk about me starting, it was myself and Steve Lanza, Bob Francis, a guy named John Cottrell, Brian Langdon, Ed Davies, and John Hamilton. And we even brought in this guy by the name of Dan Braccio. Some of you might remember that name. So the first meetings consisted really of us learning about each other. You know, we realized quickly that we needed to bring others around the table, and we gained traction with that. The first thing we did is we put together this kind of pocket guide for reentry. This mini published guide was distributed, you know, throughout the community, from everything from food, shelter, housing, and employment. However, the most impactful part of that guide was not what was contained in it, but what was embossed on the cover. I saw somebody's, Rob Hebert has it up there right now. It was a drawing of a person standing on a path looking for direction. The photo was done by an inmate. And Dan Braccio suggested the inmate put welcome home on the cover. With these two words, welcome home, our system changed. Our community decided to embrace and welcome people back as if they were returning from a far off land. No longer would they be shunned and persecuted, but welcomed and embraced in our community. Now, this was a big deviation from what was happening at the time. However, despite our best attempts to win friends and influence people, a lot of our efforts fell on deaf ears until we had an unlikely advocate that stumbled on the scene. And some of you may know him by the name of John Santa. Upon first meeting John, I got to be honest, I was kind of perplexed why a major employer like John, with no real knowledge of this problem, would want to put himself and his company out there. You know, and he quickly schooled me on his motivation. Because he had an employee that was incarcerated, but also his Catholic faith made him want to minister to the imprisoned. John could go where we couldn't go, and he had a lot of street cred to go along but he brought us along to do it. He helped our movement gain traction, get greater visibility than we could have ever done on our own. John was elevated our voices in harmony with a lot of advocates that are here today, like Kenny Jackson, Fred Hodges, Michael Askew, Steve Lanza, Rosa Correa. These were all individuals that spoke up at a time when it wasn't popular to speak up. However, John was not satisfied with the local presentations. He knew that successful reentry reform was not talking to the enlightened few, but to the skeptical many. All right, so he felt the best way to make this happen was to educate anyone that would listen. And thus, you might recall this book called The Justice Imperative. So that justice imperative was a reflection into the hyper-incarceration in America. And it also provided a roadmap here in Connecticut around comprehensive reform. The question we had at the time was, what persons could possibly actually make positive system change occur? You know what? At the time, ironically, we didn't have to look far, because in the darkest hours, a champion change emerged. Some of you guys know who that is. Scott Semple. Commissioner Semple. Commissioner Semple, newly appointed DLC commissioner, embraced the essence of reentry. He understood that a system designed to punish and not reintegrate is doomed from the start. With an ally from within and the leadership of support from OPM, like we had with Mike Lawler, real change occurred. The governor's second chance was born, ban the box legislation passed, reentry collaboratives like the one formed in Bridgeport were popping up all over the state. Inspirational movements continue to emerge with visionary leaders like Sue Gunderman, who created the Hire One campaign, challenging employers to hire just one returning citizen, and in so doing, they would make a huge difference. Or how about Charlie Grady? I heard that earlier, who pushed the envelope and challenged the state to create a hall of change to recognize model returning citizens. Now we have the grade 8. You know, I share this ancient history with you, not to remind you of how far we have come, but also to understand that there was a season for that change. Now, we have journeyed far over this past decade. We've come over some difficult terrain, and through this fire, a resolve has been forged. Now, our voices are stronger, they're clearer, and I encourage each and every one of you right now to embrace this history. Last year was the 100th year of voting for women, given the suffrage movement. Famous quote by Elizabeth Cady Stanton said that the history of the past is just one long struggle upwards to equality. That's what we're shooting for, equality here on reentry. And I'm blessed to have each and every one with you in this fight. So thank you for letting me give you that history.
Awesome. So thank you so much, Scott. That was definitely a detailed history, and it definitely lays the foundation for this panel. So I really do appreciate it. So my first question, I would love to start with Angel, and then after that, anyone else who is a formerly incarcerated individual. So Angel, I would love for you to just take a minute to sort of talk about your experiences re-entering society and any challenges that you may have faced trying to find employment in that time.
My experience is kind of, well, all of our experiences are probably crazy, and each one of us differ in very similar ways, which sounds weird, but it's probably right? I remember coming home from my little vacation, and I said to myself, let's go ahead and go inpatient somewhere so I can go ahead and start doing the same thing I used to do all over again. And my parole officer said, no, we're not going to do this. We're going to do something different. So I sat there and pondered on what I was going to do. And so I couldn't find a job anywhere because nobody wanted to hire me. And it was really rough. And I was tired of landscaping, right? So I decided to go back to school for drug and alcohol counseling. As I was going to school, I ran into a couple different programs. It's funny that Scott says Dan Braccio. Dan Braccio helped me out a lot when he was at Co-op, I think it was. And he helped me, him and his staff helped me find Scott, actually, which is really cool. The way this all trickles down and circles back around to me actually working for Career Resources is crazy for me. But so I could never find a job anywhere. I never liked anything. I was always working too hard for a little bit of money, and it was kind of rough, right? But I came home and I went back to school, and going back to school, I still was frowned upon for one, being older and trying to be in college with like a whole bunch of young kids. If that sounds right, it just felt weird to me, you know. I didn't let it stop me or let it downgrade my progress. I kept pushing forward. Became student government president at my school. All through keeping myself focused and away from the things that I used to do, right? It was weird, and just living and walking differently and not being out and doing the things that I used to do made me feel different. You know, although I can't forget my 263-047 number. I'll never forget that number that I got when I was 16 years old, you know. I'll never forget it. But now being able to look back upon it and the road that I've traveled, it's amazing. Like I said, it's come full circle because Scott and the reentry program, I love reentry. Scott Semple, Scott Wildeman, he gave me a $3,000 scholarship for me to go to school. I already had my financial aid set in place, but they gave me the opportunity of winning that Scott Semple Matthew Semple scholarship, which was Scott Semple's son who had passed away of cancer. Right, that was huge. I met all types of people. It opened up a door that oh my goodness, so big that I never even thought I could or imagined me walking through. You know, it was something different. I got people talking to me who would never talk to me before. You know, I had people recognizing who I was, left and right, and all because instead of going to a program, I went to school. You know, Yeah, she. That's Fred. That's a good point, Fred.
Yeah, no, thank you.
Sorry, Fred just. I went into during that whole time frame, right?
Mhm.
I was in family reentry as well, and family reentry. I had a mentor by the name of Cenesia Cruz, and as I'm taking drug and alcohol classes, I would sit in her office till late night doing homework, discussing my life with her, and she helped me along that whole process. She got me to where I'm at also today. Meeting who was that gentleman that and I don't want to call him an old guy, but Mr. Santa and I sat down in Channel 12 News and spoke about reentry after I won that award as well. Sanita helped me write some of the speech that I had when I spoke, you know, and like all that stuff culminated into me being here. I also went through Public Allies for 2 years, and I thought that going through Public Allies for 2 years, I was going to be pushed to the front of the class. Right? I thought I was going to, this is it. This is where it's going to be. I found out that that's not the way it works, you know, and I still have to fight to get to where I have to get to. I'm still, I look for work left and right, and I'm still barred of employment because of my past history. I had the opportunity of working down the street. I had a gas station. As soon as they did a background check, they never called me back. I was hired. The guy told me I was hired. As soon as he found out my background, he took away the offer letter from the table. And all that.
Thank you for that, Angel. I do want to get to some other people. I really appreciate it.
Go ahead.
I do appreciate your story, and we will come back to you. But I definitely want to give others that are on the call a chance to sort of talk about some of their challenges that they face when they re-enter back into society.
Hi, I'm Inez.
Hi, Inez.
And I spent the majority of my life in York. Like I grew up there, and you know, I remember like coming in and out of there, and just going in and out and in and out, and like the more I came in and out, the longer my record got. And I have like today, I have like 63 convictions on my record. The first time I went to jail, I was 16, and I didn't stop going until I was 57. And you know, I came out this time. I came out the last time. I've been out for 7 years in July, but I came out this time with a different mindset. Like I'm gonna get a job. I'm gonna live right. I'm a recovering addict. I'm not gonna do any more drugs. But I had to move. I had to move from Stanford to New London. So when I got out of jail, I came to New London. Now this is a small, tight town. There are people who don't have records, who are not recovering addicts, can't find jobs in this little area. And so I came here, and you know, the thing was I didn't have a resume. I sat in jail for 2.5 years. Nobody helped me get a resume. They let me out at the courthouse in a sweatsuit, no coat, nothing, and just left me. And so I came here. I needed to get a resume, but I didn't have nothing to put on the resume. So my rap sheet became my resume, because I put all the jobs I had in jail on my resume, because I've never had a job in my entire life. My first job, I was like 58 years old. So, you know, like I took the job that I did in jail, and I put them things down because I had nothing else to put down, and I didn't want to lie. And so I never had the attitude of nobody's gonna hire me because I'm an ex-convict. So I'm in New London. You know, I was really heavy into Narcotics Anonymous, and somebody gave me a chance. And so someone offered me a job at SCAD, because I had took the recovery course. I had took the recovery coach course, and I had took some other courses, you know, online, because I needed to find something to help me have something to work with, because I had nothing to work with when I got out of jail, nothing, you know. And the the person offered me a job, and I said yes, and that was the beginning of, you know, me finding like self-worth, and my self-esteem was boosted because wow, now I got a job, you know what I mean? Like I worked at the halfway house with the women, and it just made me feel better about myself because like somebody saw something in me that I didn't even see in myself. And I was like, wow, like I got a job, like a real one, you know what I'm saying? Like I wasn't stealing cars no more. I bought one, you know, I'm not stealing out the stores, I'm buying stuff. Like I didn't know how to like get a bank account. I still don't know how to budget. It's 7 years later and I'm still not budgeting. But that's my stuff. But you know what I'm saying? Like being a person, like every female that's been in Niantic knows me. I spent my whole life there, and I mean that. I had a daughter there, and she's 41 today. You know, I haven't been to jail in almost 7 years, but the job thing, like nowhere have I gone where anybody has told me no. Because when I got interviewed for SCAD, I had to tell them the truth about who I was and what I've done. But what I told them at the time was, my rap sheet is not who I am. That's what I've done. That's not who I am. You know, that's some. I did do the stuff on there, but that's not who I am. You know what I mean? And like, I work in the recovery field around here, and you know, I do a lot of stuff, and I never wanted to work my entire life. You know, I didn't want to work. When I got out of jail, my goal was to go get high. Never once did I say, well, I'm gonna get out and get me a job and get myself together. Nope. Didn't want that. Right. And the thing about it is like, I never thought I was worth anything. I really didn't think I was anybody, really, because all I ever been told was that I was a dope fiend and a crackhead. And I bought that.
But you're not. You're a star.
Exactly.
Right now, kicking butt.
Exactly. And I'm you know, like I'm about to turn 64 years old, and life is this is definitely beyond my wildest dreams.
Absolutely. And we here.
You know, because
we're gonna keep pushing, Inez. We're gonna keep pushing.
Exactly. 45 years of using. This is definitely beyond my wildest dreams.
Absolutely.
You know, and you know,
I'm so proud of you, Inez.
Thank you, sweetie. How you doing?
I'm good, and yourself? I love you, Inez. Like
I love you too.
I don't mean to cut you off, but Inez did my whole 8 years with me.
Yeah, I would love to hear from Miss Alamo. I would love to hear from you. But what I would love for you to do is like keep it succinct, because I also have another question that I want Scott and Tiheba. Scott and Tiheba to jump into. So you can tell us about like one major challenge you had coming home, but also sort of like, you know, thinking about that, right? With COVID-19 going on, right? How have you seen that impact other individuals? And what is there, you know, is there something that we can do to help those individuals out, right? On that journey of finding employment during COVID-19? Because I can only guess that the problems are stacked upon each other.
Right. So I never really had a challenge when I came home to find a job. My challenge was staffing a halfway house. Like when I went to prison, I used to work at a lawyer's office. I used to be a secretary, in spite of what I did in the streets. You know, I live a street life. But when I came home, I wanted to have an office job. I didn't want to go work at McDonald's or Burger King because I didn't want to break out or whatever. I want to have an office job. And the staff there was giving me pushback because they was like, well, you can't get an office job because you have a felony now. So you need to get what you can get. And I was like, all right, so the next thing I can do is be a manager. And I became a store manager at AutoZone, my first job at the halfway house, so I could get off my back. And it wasn't hard at all. But one thing that I see challenging now with COVID is that I have built a lot of relationship with employers to hire individuals coming back home. The challenge is that there's no work right now. I mean, everybody has shut down. For example, one of my colleagues that hire a lot of my guys and females is Last Parking. Last Parking has shut down half the domain almost. All the downtown is shut down. The only thing that's really running are hospitals, and how many people you can put in a hospital, right? And also Valvoline was one of the ones that used to work with me closely. They can't do as much hire because people don't got money to get oil changed. So they hire by sales. So there's no work, but also the pushback's still there. You know what I mean? What can we do? I think that you know how they be having all these grants and money coming out for help for you know, individuals not working. I think they should start thinking about ex-offenders or people that are in there and start getting grants for them so it can be a little help to bills, rent. You know, them things don't stop, but jobs have stopped. So we got to think of new ways of how can we create jobs or new connections to be able to stay connected financially and still have a life.
Awesome. Thank you for that. And I would love to, you know, hear from Tiheba, Scott, and Trish on this subject, right? Like individuals returning back into the community, it's extremely difficult for them to find employment, right? COVID-19, that's impacted. So know what things have you seen, and like what can we sort of do to help those individuals?
So Yancy, if I could, I'll give you some demographics too. And right now we got about 180,000 people in the state of Connecticut currently on unemployment. There are more people unemployed now than there was at the Great Recession. Okay, to complicate things even a little bit, that the majority of people that are unemployed now are 65% of them were making under $35,000 a year. All right, and they were mostly women. Okay, so this is a recession that disproportionately hit people that were already struggling. All right, this wasn't like the last recession where Wall Street brokers got laid off and big banks took a hit. This is where Main Street took a real hit. All right, and I agree. The jobs right now are a challenge, right? Because let's think about it. A lot of the opportunities we often did and where we placed people were a lot of retail customer service, and those positions are the same positions right now that were impacted by COVID. So I think you're right on target by, as we talk about job training for reentry, because I will tell you the governor's office on workforce is actually listening to that. There's certain dollars and bills they're trying to carve out right now. There's going to be a lot of money for retraining. All right, you got an unemployment rate almost 10% on average across the state of Connecticut. There's going to be a lot of money out there for job retraining. The biggest thing we need to be able to do is we need to start advocating, especially around some of the licensing, because I think the challenge right now, because healthcare is a boom. We know that healthcare is huge. COVID-19 proved to us that healthcare is huge. We've got to figure out how we can get people that have somewhat of a record still licensed in healthcare jobs, because right now that has been a huge challenge. So I think that's a big push we got to start thinking about. But I would tell you, there will be opportunities for job training. That second chances are still a priority for the governor and for the state. And we recognize that this is going to be a huge disproportionate impact on those individuals that are returning. So absolutely, we're working on it.
Awesome, thank you for that. Tiheba, as a provider and someone who's been through it.
Hey.
It's impact.
Hi, how are you doing?
I'm doing okay. We'd love to hear your perspective on it. And then we're going to go to Trish.
Okay, so my perspective on what's going on with COVID. Hi, guys. Hi, Scott. Hi, Alicia. Hi, Inez. Nice to meet you. I would love to talk to you. Please reach out. I put my information in the chat. Hi, Trish. Okay, so my perspective is this, right? I follow what Scott just said, right? Scott was talking about training. Training is, Alicia was right. There are no jobs, virtually no jobs. And it's virtually impossible for not just formerly incarcerated people, but people in general to become employed again. But that leaves the room for retraining and re-educating on jobs or careers and positions that you may have wanted to test out before and couldn't because you was working at this job. The workforce here in Bridgeport they're doing great work as far as sending people on the job training and helping them get placed. So my thing is, like, we need to invest in those organizations as well as organizations that can partner with public allies like my organization and other grassroots organizations out here that has the potential and capacity to actually house a person, but does not necessarily have the capacity to employ a person, right? So with that being said, let's reallocate. You're going to allocate the money. Let's reallocate the business, right? So train them here and send them here. If you guys have the money to already pay them and give them a salary or some type of payment some type of salary, and we have the space, the capacity to hold, we have the ability and the willingness to house you, send them to us, because that's on the job training, and you also getting paid for your work, right? You're getting paid for your time and you're learning, right? So we need more programs like that. And then we need to talk about education, right? Let's not forget education, because employment and education goes hand in hand, because a lot of times you don't have a high school diploma or a GED and or even associate's degrees, because these days you can't get employed at certain positions. So we need to push employment. I mean, push education, because if you can't get employed right now, what's the next best thing? Go to school. Go to school, build your resume up in that regard, and then come back out. And when the jobs market start booming again, you'll have something else under your belt and be more marketable. So I think that with everything that we're doing and everything that's going on, that everybody has a place to do what needs to be done. And I don't think that, we should let COVID dictate to us what we can and cannot do. If we have the resources to do it, then let's do it. The government is offering up those monies. Give the monies to where it's supposed to be. Don't just give it to the big conglomerate nonprofits. Give it also to the small grassroots mobilization, galvanizing nonprofits. Give it to, have it across the board, so we can all chip in and do our part in helping rebuild our people after COVID.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Tiheba. Thank you. I'm gonna go to Trish, our community navigator. Trish, we know you have boots on the ground, right? So just thinking about, this COVID issue and how difficult it is to get employment. Like, what have you seen? Is there anything that we can do to help individuals?
And you have vocation and you have academic. Oh, sorry.
Can I say something really quick?
We'll come right back to you. We'll come back to you, Ms. Alamo. I want to hear from Trish. We'll come right back to you.
I think that being able to be in the position that I'm in as somebody with the experience of being in prison, addiction, all that, and working in the field that I'm working in with people helps build the people up, but it got to start in prison. Like it got to start in prison. And no, there's barely no jobs out here. It's so discouraging when you see people get right, come out of treatment, come out of prison, and they ready, they focused, and there's no jobs, right? We didn't know COVID was coming, whatever. But it's discouraging, and it's putting a lot of people back into the prison, back into treatment, back into using. So I think it really got to start in the prison, and then just like the woman just said, like to the nonprofits, to the small ones, to the ones that are like hands-on with these people, to give them the education and the experience. In the medical field, absolutely. I just became a community health worker licensed through the state only because I wasn't incarcerated for the last 12 years. But it would be harder for somebody coming out. But there should be, we shouldn't even talk about our record, right? Like, why do you even have to know? Because that's not who I am today. I think those are like the education piece, the experience, getting lived experience, using your lived experience to make money, right? But right now, the focus is like getting people jobs and keeping them housed. And even if it's as basic as bringing the education to the prison, to the halfway house, to the sober house, whatever, we need to get down and dirty. Like, we need to get right there with them.
So no, I just wanted to say, not only like train them on the retrain for work and stuff like that. Also, educate them on this COVID, like where it come from, how to protect yourself, how to protect your family, how to sanitize, how to clean stuff. That's important because you know COVID's around, but you may not be educated on what to do and where's the resources and stuff like that,
Awesome, cool. So I guess my next question, right? It's about, like, we're talking about this panel of employment, right? But it's cool to just talk about it, right? Like, we have to come up with solutions to get things done, right? So this is for everyone. I would love for everyone, again, to keep it succinct so we can hear from each other. But Angel, again, I'll start with you. So for those individuals who like getting started out on their journey, like now, right? So individuals who got home last month, last week, who just got home today, right? What or where are some resources that you can let people know about to give them a jump start? Like, where would you send them? And I'll start with you, Angel, and we'll keep these succinct so we can hear from everyone.
Okay.
I think it's really.
I came home 7 years ago, so it's kind of tough for me to figure out what kind of resources we completely have in our community. I search for them here and there. I know I can always go down to career resources, and there's plenty of programs down there that you can use for help with schooling and education, job training, and so on and so forth. But due to COVID, a lot of that stuff has been really, really hard to get into. So I don't know. I wish a lot of the programs that I had when I came home were still around, because a lot of those programs really helped me become who I am today. A lot of them have been defunded, and defunding a lot of the programs hurt a lot of these individuals coming back into society. It's hard for these people to get a job. If you don't have a job, you don't have no money, you can't take care of your family. And you're going to try and put these people educate. You can't educate. How are you going to go to school if you're not making money to sustain your family? Like, that's really rough. Those are things that are really, really hard to deal with. And we just do need a lot more resources than what I can think of.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Scott, I would love for you to weigh in as an individual, at the head of career resources, which is like a beacon in our community, right? So outside of career resources, because we all know that that's a one-stop shop for everyone, right? So for individuals who are just getting started out on this employment journey, what or where are some resources that, we can let people know about to give them a jump start?
Well, I would tell you that first, there's a couple of things that people can do. One of which I would tell you the first thing they need to do is register in something called CT Hires. And, CT Hires does have a variety of resources that are available. Everything from helping a person with a resume to doing practice job interviewing. It's all right there in front of you. And it's the main conduit to the American Job Center. So if you want to get a job training, it's a good place to start. And in fact, I had a call yesterday with Department of Corrections, and Geo Solutions, who created the CT Hires program, is now creating an overlay that will be offered as pre-release in the prisons. And they're going to start it at McDougal in York, and it'll allow the inmates to actually create profiles, to create resumes, to do practice interviewing. And all that information will then be able to be transferred over to CT Hires when they actually become released.
The career resources and Goodwill are definitely two places to look for employment. However, I just want to stress that when you first come home, employment is important, but you need to have some brothers or some sisters and create a network that's going to help you and support you when you can't find a job, because jobs, like everyone is saying, is hard, and you need to create a network when you first come home. That should be the first thing you do. I've been doing this direct services for a while, and guys come home with me all the time, and that's the most important thing that they have. They have a lot of anxiety when they come home for issues that they haven't dealt with as far as a female, family, or anything like that. So jobs is definitely important, and we can't get around that, but you need to start a network of at least 3 or 4 people that you know, man. And it don't, that's important. That's all I want to say, Yancy.
Thank you for that, Fred. I'll jump into that too in my closing, but thank you for that. Scott?
Yeah, I was going to just, hey, Fred, that's really important too. I mean, I would tell you also faith-based, get involved in the faith-based community is another big piece to look into. Also the community action agencies. The community action agencies are really great at connecting people to basic resources and basic needs. So we have the Alliance for Community Empowerment in Bridgeport. Manette Ferguson, Dr. Ferguson does an awesome job of helping our community connect for resources. But I agree with you. Build that network of success. Surround yourself with positive people that are going to make you create positive change. And then you're right. You know, the jobs will come. You know, and it does take some persistence and you know, a little bit of luck. But they're out there. They are out there. The last thing I'll just mention is the American Job Centers. A lot of people think they're closed right now or anything like that. They are not. The American Job Centers across the state of Connecticut are open. You can go in by appointment only if you want to. Most of them you can do virtual sessions, and all the training, like Angel was saying, you know, a lot of training did have to go virtual, but a lot of the training providers now are able to actually offer a lot of programs virtually and follow up. So like tractor trailer driving, you know, that's a big class for us. A lot of people, there's some virtual classes, but you can still go one-on-one to get your CDL if you're interested. So again, don't let that discourage you. There's a lot of opportunities out there.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Scott. Please check out the chat too. There are a lot of resources coming into the chat that we can use to connect individuals with. Miss Inez, we would love to hear from you. Where are some resources that we can let people know about to give them a jump start when they're coming home fresh?
I think it's very important to I deal with women coming out of prison every day. They come to our houses and they come with no identification. And like, you can't get a job if you don't got no ID. They have no identification, no birth certificate, no social security card. So it's really hard, you know, to hook them up with agencies that's going to help them pay for those things. And the agency that I work for has just been paying out of pocket for some of the women, because sometimes the women get a job before they get an ID, you know. And another thing, I think the education part is real important. But when I know for me, I didn't want to go back to school. I was afraid. I ain't been in school in 50 years, so I felt like I'm not going to go sit in the room with a bunch of young people and try to learn something. You know what I mean? I just didn't want to do it. It was so uncomfortable. It was just as uncomfortable as getting my license. I had to go to them classes and sit with 19-year-olds, and I'm 62, sitting in the class with 19-year-olds. And sometimes that's the stuff that stops us from doing what we need to do for ourselves, because again, it goes back to our self-esteem. So I really feel like before you can like put a person in a job, you got to teach us how to act, teach us how to go on an interview, teach us what to say and what not to say. You know, most of the women that I know for myself, I'm from the street. And I still have that hood in me, that ghetto in me.
Yeah,
and,
I got it too.
And sometimes I don't talk like I should talk. You know what I'm saying? I'm not proper. And there's nothing proper about me. I'm just who I am. And I just feel like, you know, if we had a little bit more help from other women, help from other agencies with the COVID thing, it's really hard because it's an excuse right now. And listen, I use drugs. If I was using drugs, COVID wouldn't even come to mind. So why can't I work?
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like, the thing about it is, like, I don't know. I just feel like coming from that jailhouse and that jailhouse mentality, and maybe it's just my mentality because I've been institutionalized all my life, and I thought I was institutionalized, and I thought I would always have that institutionalized mindset. And we come out like that. We come out like don't nobody care about me. Anybody gonna do nothing for me? And I don't know that. I don't need nobody to do nothing for me. Do something for myself, because you know what I'm saying. When you be a blessing, you get a blessing.
Absolutely.
You know, and so it's, you know, I just think that we need to be like, I needed somebody to be standing there when I got off that bus. I needed some direction. I needed somewhere to go. You don't let me off the bus and say goodbye, Inez, because Inez was gonna go smoke some crack or sniff some dope, because that's all I knew. Thank God I didn't this last time. But when you just throw me out to the wolves because you're done, because I gave you what I owed you, then I'm messed up.
I appreciate you. And I appreciate you. So the question I have for Tiheba, Ms. Alamo, is, so right now there's a huge push for this clean slate bill, right? So are there any recommendations you would give to, advocates or formerly incarcerated individuals about anything that they can do to sort of like help support or help to get this bill pushed through?
I have an answer for your last question.
Okay, jump in.
All right, so Mercy House is given secure deposit, but you gotta be under another program getting like case management. So as long as a program is signing for saying that they're giving you case management, they'll pay for secure deposit. That's one way for help when they come home. Another thing, they open a lot of food pantries. They are giving like every day there's a food pantry in Hartford. So if we give out that information, they won't go hungry. They also give it meats and stuff, so that's one way we can get them started. Also, there's two temp agency that hires convicted felons like on the spot, which is FS Staffing and Epic, and they bring them to Trader Joe's warehouse, and they slave them to death, but they have income. So that's one way to get started as well. So just put that out there.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Tiheba, you're on mute. I would love maybe for Tiheba and to Scott to touch on that last question, right? Like that.
Okay.
And we can jump in. Go ahead, Tiheba.
All right. So listen, before I jump on that last question with the clean slate, I want to just piggyback off of what Miss Inez was talking about. And it's not, people didn't already talked about the resources that Connecticut yields and, stuff. But I want to talk about on what she said about they need more women and stuff like that. Miss Inez, I'm offering me up to you right now today. Please reach out, because that's what I do. I mentor women coming home from prison, and I help them get over the hurdles that they go through as far as reentry, because it's not easy. And if they can have someone that they can see and help them get there and know that we've been in your same situation, it's a little less daunting. So please reach out to me. I'm here, okay? I want to get in touch with you. I need to get in touch with you. Let's work together in this, right? Because we as women need to stick together, because look at us. There's 3 of us on here, but it's majority men in the whole situation of reentry, right? And reform. So, Scott, you know how I feel about that. I'm all about the women. They my sisters. That's right. Everyone that knows me knows this. Like, I am just all about, because I am my sister.
They love you for it. And they love you for it. And we love you too.
All right. Well, all right, cool. I'm grateful. But as far as the clean slate,
like how can we be a part of it?
Excuse me?
How can we be a part of it? Like, what can we do to help? How can
first and foremost, the clean slate, I just want to put a caveat out there and just be as transparent as I can be. The clean slate is not something that I truly advocate for. I support it due to the fact that it's a step in the right direction. However, it has too many carve-outs that does not apply to me or anyone else that has a violent conviction. So that's a problem, because people living with violent convictions are generally left out of the reform talk, or the talk of, criminal justice reform and or abolition, because they, it's a taboo topic. However, the clean slate is a push in the right direction. I just don't want it to get pushed in the right direction and then it get forgotten about and it doesn't come back and be addressed and take out those carve outs and put some carve-ins in for my demographic and the demographic that I serve, and people that that are in a different situation than I am, because we all need a second chance. When you talk about second chances, when you have carve outs, right? You talk about, oh, we're a second chance society, we're a second chance this, but if there is no reform, if it doesn't include all reform, right? So what do you mean by that?
Mm-hmm.
You want to support it? Speak about it and say yes, but put in that carve out to say, we want this passed, but we also want to leave the door open to come back and amend what we passed today.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great way of making sure that it get passed, and it also has another door open to where we can come in and say, we got this. We're gonna come back in a couple of years later and say, you know what? We did some more research. We understood the situation. You know, we understand public safety and all this, and we got the research and the data to prove that, you know, people living with violent convictions or have or sexual convictions are not so much as a public risk as they used to be, because we have all of these other things in place, these other platforms and modalities in place to where we can help them in reform and rehabilitation. And so when we do that and we build them up and they have a track record of rehabilitation, we can bring to the table with the legislator and say, this is our data. For everybody that you left out before, this is our data now. And that's my take on that. Okay.
Thank you. And it was informative, definitely for myself. Scott, really quick, what do you think about it? Because I do want to wrap up with one last.
Yeah, no, you know what? I appreciate that. You know what I think about that? You know, first off, I think that, you know, as a society, we always talk about redemption and giving people second chances. You know, but you know, the reality is very few people actually give people second chances. I think the clean slate actually allows an avenue for that to occur. You know, because without a bill of such nature, it just becomes, we just end up persecuting people for crimes they've done 10, 15, 20 years ago, forever. You know, so, you know, I think that the clean slate is, and I agree with Tiheba, it's a good step in the right direction. We have to take wins where we can get them. And, you know, and the biggest thing we need to do is go out there and educate the ignorant about, you know, about the clean slate and the importance of giving people an opportunity at this elusive American dream. All right. We prevent it in so many ways. We find ways to prevent people from having an opportunity to earn a wage, to reconnect with their families, and to become a contributing taxpayer. And as a result, what happens if we do that? They recidivate, and then we wonder why. All right. The clean slate is a public policy that I think is a public health policy, you know, to create our communities stronger and better. So that's what I'd advocate about.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Scott. And again, please check out the chat. It is rich with resources right now. So you can just like copy and paste and like throw that into a Google Doc, and you'll have a document full of resources that we can use. So before we wrap up, I do have one more question. And this one is going to be elevator pitch, right? 20 seconds max, right? If you had the opportunity to talk to an employer and tell them one thing about hiring a formerly incarcerated person, what would it be? 20 seconds max. You had the opportunity to talk to an employer and tell them one thing about hiring a formerly incarcerated individual, what would that be?
Well, I'll start.
Yes. Awesome.
I would give you 20 seconds. First off, don't look at them as formerly incarcerated.
Okay.
Look at them as a contributing employee that wants to make a good life for themselves and for their family, and give them an opportunity to actually succeed. All right. They want to prove themselves, not only to you, but to everyone else in their lives. So that's what I would tell them. Give them that chance.
Thank you for that. Next, 20 seconds. Elevator pitch. If you can talk to one employer.
I think I would say, can you hear me?
Yep.
Oh, I think I would tell them, don't let the past define them. Don't let their past define them. Just let them show you from here on out who they truly are, and be able to prove themselves as a successful individual coming into this society.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Angel. We have Miss Inez, Tiheba, and Miss Alamo next. 20 seconds. If you could talk to an employer and tell them one thing about hiring.
I would tell them that my record is not who I am, it's what I've done. I respect that, but that's not who I am, and that I'm a different person, and I need that chance, and I deserve that chance.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Tiheba or Miss Alamo?
Okay, I would say it's the best decision that you'll ever make in your life.
Mm-hmm. Tell her.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, repeat the question again.
If you had 20, if you can talk to an employer and tell them one thing about hiring a formerly incarcerated person, what would that be? 20 seconds. You have an elevator pitch. What would you?
I wouldn't change anything that I have done in the past because it made me who I am today.
Awesome. Oh my God. Thank you all so much for this rich conversation. Tiheba, Miss Alamo, Inez, Angel, Scott, Big Dog Fred threw some jewels in there. We really appreciate you all so much. And Daryl, thank you for having me. But I think really quick before I check out, I may be throwing a little bit more work onto your shoulders, bro. But is there a way that we can sort of like maybe all of us get like a mailing list or contact list or create a Google group out of all of the individuals that we have here on this call, right? This is social capital at its best, bro, right? Like imagine you coming home and being able to directly connect with the grade 8, right? Or Inez, or Miss Alamo, or Scott. You know what I mean? Like this can literally change the game, bro. So I'm sorry for putting that weight on your shoulders.
This is where we go, baby. You know what?
No, that's what we do. Ain't no apologies necessary.
That's right.
No apologies necessary. That's what we do.
Listen, y'all don't know how to act, man. This is a professional setting right here.
Whatever.
You the first one acting like you the DJ and want to get people all hyped up. And then after you get people hyped up, you want to tell them it's professional. Cut it out.
Hey,
Daryl,
you know what? Let me tell you quickly, I love all y'all, man. Thank you, man. When I asked y'all to come through, y'all said no doubt, no question. I love each and every one of you.
There ain't no telling who you might be. A movie star, or maybe even maybe it's you.